Yay! I've called a lot of times before, and I've never really hashed out exactly what I meant. I've called a few times and said white is right, and overrepresentation being the main focus of the right wing, and I've never really hashed out what I mean by that.
Sure. Can you just say who your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah. This is Ed from Fort Worth, Texas.
Ed from Fort Worth. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so for the past, since Murdoch and Fox News came into be, they have straddled this, I'm so sorry, I'm a little bit excited, but what they've done is they've complicitly accepted media, culture, everything in general. So it doesn't matter what it is, but for the most part, they've used culture as a whole to promote that their side has been right, simply by virtue of being white. That's why they love identity politics. But the way it's encapsulated the best is, unlike every other group, every other political party here or in the Republican right wing, they tout how they're mainly made up of 80 to 90% white people. They also like to tout how their news stations have the most views, how they're overrepresented. But within that is a big bias that if their audience is mainly white and the people that are speaking are mainly white, will they ever really have a true knowledge of anything other than whiteness? So like every single time I cringe when they say, oh, CRT is bad. Unless you're part of CRT or anything of that, do you really know what it is to be those things? And white people can do this white Republican people can do this very well and call bullshit on people's lack of knowledge. But it seems like they never, ever, ever, ever say, wow, it's weird. I'm a white conservative. Listen to a white conservative like Tucker Carlson. He knows so much about black people. He knows so much about gay people. He knows so much about Antifa. He knows so much about this. But at the end of the day, it's what you guys say. It's identity politics. They use pop culture. They back it up, and that's why they like to invade these spaces to continue the overrepresentation and being on the white is right. That's why you see like these little niche communities pop up and being populated by them first and foremost, because they know that the minute you put your flag and say this is what this group is, that's what they're going to start going forward. So it's a very subtle trick that they do. But again, it only happens because they're overrepresented and they're always right. That's why whenever you argue with them, every point that they do, you have to be on the defensive and you have to prove why they're wrong, and not necessarily like, hey, dude, you just spoke bullshit. It's bullshit. Everybody else uses this bullshit. I'll take your response off the call. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think you said a lot right there. Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there from what I got from what you were saying, in the sense that I think the big central draw of the reactionary worldview, broadly speaking, is that it privileges the idea that you can understand the entirety of the world and other people's experiences and what they want simply from your own vantage point, and not in the sense of you actually research and go and experience these things or read about them via autobiographies or even experience them through other forms of media, but just through your own senses and going out and observing the world. You are capable of, developing these huge meta theories and huge ideas about the way things work outside of your purview. And I think that that's just at the core of a lot of our media, that even the one that doesn't describe itself as reactionary, is that it's good enough because you're a smart, hardworking, rational thinking American to just observe your community and draw big sweeping generalizations about the world based on that. And once you start challenging people to actually, justify a lot of their ideas and where these things are coming from, they stumble because most of them are built upon something as flimsy as well. When I remember what I used to watch on TV as a kid, I don't remember seeing as many black people or gay people or any of these other things. And a lot of this stuff may or may not be true from a broad standpoint, but it's mostly just rooted in their experiences and their thoughts, and they have just been allowed by nature of reactionary worldview to elevate just what are their experiences and biased thoughts to the point of oh no, these are rational objective truths about the world that no one should challenge. And so, you know, a lot of times you're just arguing uphill because like you're trying to present like statistics when like Tucker Carlson says like women aren't like rather our society is not misogynist. Me hate women. Can you prove any of that? Like you could just do like a literal quantitative analysis of his show and how many times he's done stories about like, you know, portraying women in a negative light, but that wouldn't mean anything to show them because like they're operating from a purely experiential, like firsthand, I want to confirm my bias standpoint. So I think a lot of it is just trying to understand who you can actually reach and who is just wasting your time, and not just because they're operating in bad faith, but because like their good faith attempts are like subverted by their lack of ability to engage with the world outside of their own perspective.
And that's why, I mean, they don't really value or unless it confirms their own bias, but like collectively the experience of, say, Black people or non-white people or Latino people or indigenous people or gay people, trans people, talking about their experience and how collectively they may feel discriminated against because it does not mesh with their individual perception and like, you know, investigative work of their own life. And so they can't really see, okay, there's probably value in this if a lot of people are saying that they feel the same way about how they've been treated in society, because it just doesn't compute.
Yeah, I mean, you could even see how it played out with COVID, where people who literally got a version of COVID and it was mild, just simply don't understand that that wasn't the case for other people, and that's like actually a big systemic and so problem that would cause like societal collapse. They're just like, people should just have better lungs. I don't get it. I don't get it. My lungs were fine. Like people have theorized that's why Bolsonaro didn't do more, because it's just like he keeps getting it, so he can't understand that his experience is not like other people's experience. And honestly, that's something that we've cultivated in our society through like targeted lack of empathetic thinking, where we like treat people, and we convince people that they're being that they're having like general empathy engendered into them, but we only parade a handful of like faces and stories out in front of people that we tell them are worthy of sympathy, and then the rest of the ones get like buried to the side, so like they just become marginalized.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Bolsonaro was hospitalized so many times with COVID that I think he actually probably does get it, but he knows it wouldn't play with his, his base. So he decides to.
My man has like Munchausen syndrome, but like it's entirely related to bird attacks and having COVID. My man loves being in the hospispittal. I don't get it.
Yeah, getting stabbed in the gut. He just loves.
He loves being full of tubes. Some people are into that. No kink shame.
Yeah.
I don't want to mog my man.